Welcome back to Ripped Apart, a sadly continuing saga. Here you will hear 5 stories where the OP is alienated and literally forced to continue family life with less family. Let's get into it. In the UK just a few years ago, as a mother of 4 beautiful daughters, her world was turned upside down when her eldest daughter required surgery on her back. Amidst the stress and worry surrounding the operation, she found herself grappling with the aftermath of leaving her ex and starting anew in a new home. However, her newfound sense of independence was quickly overshadowed by her ex's relentless harassment, with false accusations bringing the police to her door time and time again. Despite the documented evidence of his deceit in court, it seems her status as a target of a narcissistic ex rendered her deemed unfit in the eyes of the authorities. In a cruel twist of fate, a seemingly innocuous mark on her daughter's skin led to the removal of all of her daughters, placing them into custody of her ex. Despite her pleas and the acknowledgement of child alienation in court, her daughters remained with their father, separated from their mother's love. Tragically, her middle daughter, lacking a father figure, was placed in care at the tender age of 12, enduring a series of upheavals as she moved from one care home to another. Yet amidst the chaos, she found solace in the resilience of her eldest daughter, who defiantly returned home and thrived under her care. However, a year later, she faced another devastating blow when she discovered she was 18 weeks pregnant. Terrified by the prospect of losing another child to forced adoption, she made the agonizing decision to undergo a surgical termination. Yet the procedure left her with serious complications requiring multiple operations and a blood transfusion. As she fought for her life in the hospital, social workers invaded her home in search of evidence, oblivious to her dire condition. Despite the overwhelming odds stacked against her, her resolve remained unbroken, her determination to reunite with her daughters unwavering. Now, as she prepared to leave the hospital, her sights were set on reclaiming her life and her family, with plans to fight for the return of her 12-year-old daughter and establish normal contact with her younger ones. She faced a daunting road ahead, with courage and determination, refusing to let her ex's abuse and manipulation dictate her family's future. And through it all, the absence of help from social services only strengthened her resolve to fight for justice and the well-being of her daughters. So in this case, it seems that social services were determined to be as unhelpful as possible. The mother essentially escaped her ex's clutches to be met with social services helping in the only way they know how, by not helping at all and dividing the family. The mother has battled through all obstacles thrown her way, but round every turn there's another wall she needs to break through. In the UK in 2012, in a town nestled between rolling hills and murmuring streams, a woman found herself tangled in a web of adversity and heartache. Her story began with a painful chapter of domestic violence inflicted upon her by her now ex-husband, a man she had once trusted with her heart and her home. In the aftermath of the assault, she made the difficult decision to place her children in the care of others, seeking refuge from the storm of abuse that threatened to engulf her family. Yet her hopes for safety were shattered when authorities suggested placing her children in the custody of her ex-husband, the very man who had caused her so much pain, and her own mother, whose past deeds of physical and sexual abuse haunted her every waking moment. As she grappled with the trauma of her past and the uncertainty of her future, she watched helplessly as her eldest child returned home under the condition that the mother retained control of financial benefits. Despite the evidence of ongoing abuse suffered by all her children, she found herself navigating a system that seemed blind to her cries for help. In the midst of her struggles, she received news that she was expecting a child. A glimmer of hope in a sea of darkness. Yet even the joy of new life was tainted by accusations of neglect hurled at her by a midwife. Despite her diligent efforts to prioritize her pregnancy amidst illness and medical appointments, as her due date approached, she found herself thrust into a nightmare of bureaucracy and false accusations, her every move scrutinized and her rights stripped away. Even as she fought for her life during an emergency C-section, she was even denied the simple comfort of staying with her newborn baby in the hospital. In the aftermath, she endured 6 months of relentless scrutiny and invasive visits, her every action dissected and distorted by those who held power over her fate. Despite her willingness to cooperate and her steadfast commitment to her children's well-being, she found herself branded with the scars of past abuse, held accountable for crimes she never committed. And yet, amidst the darkness, she clung to a flicker of hope that one day justice would prevail, and her children would find the peace and security they so rightfully deserved. For in the depths of her unwavering love, she vowed to fight until her very last breath for the safety and happiness of her children, her precious children. It seems in this case OP has been as open as possible with the authorities, and she once again became a victim of abuse. Major emotional abuse. The scars may not be visible, but they run very deep, and her being a victim was used against her to ensure she was alone, amplifying the effect of not being allowed to be a parent. In the UK in 2021, a mother found herself ensnared in a web of deceit and betrayal that threatened to tear her family apart. Her journey began with a court of protection hearing for her beloved daughter, who, at 35 years old, was navigating the complexities of life with severe autism. The reason for this court intervention stemmed from a web of falsehoods concocted by the health authority, as well as other authorities, who fabricated a safeguarding concern around her daughter's self-harming behaviors, despite the mother's earnest attempts to provide the best care for her daughter? Their words fell on deaf ears as the authorities pressed forward with their agenda. Before she knew it, her daughter was placed in supported living, a decision reportedly intended for her benefits. However, what should have been a temporary measure quickly spiraled out of control. The mother was blindsided when she discovered that a 24/7 court order had been imposed behind her back, stripping her of her parental rights and leaving her powerless to intervene. As she grappled with the devastating consequences of this betrayal, the mother felt the weight of injustice bearing down upon her. Her daughter, who relied on her unwavering love and support, was now trapped in a system that seemed indifferent to her needs. Yet, amidst the darkness, one hope remained. With a steely resolve born of maternal love, the mother vowed to fight tooth and nail for her daughter's rights and freedom. She refused to be silenced by the voices of deceit and manipulation, knowing that the bond between a mother and her child was unbreakable, even in the face of the most insurmountable odds. And so, armed with courage and determination, the mother embarked on a journey to reclaim what was rightfully hers. Though the road ahead was fraught with challenges and obstacles, she faced it head on, knowing that the love she held for her daughter would guide her through the darkest of times. For in the end, she refused to let the shadows of injustice consume her family's future, holding fast to the belief that truth and righteousness would prevail in the end. So it seems in this case, OP has had her daughter taken off her. Well, when I say her daughter, I mean her adult daughter, who realistically can't look after herself. She needs her mother. She needs to be with people who know her condition. So all social services manage to do in this case is literally destroy a family. For no other reason than they can. Like, the daughter has mental health issues? Okay, we'll take the daughter away. That doesn't solve it. It does not solve it. Just a year ago in the UK, in the quiet suburbs of a bustling town, a family found themselves plunged into a nightmare of confusion and despair. It began innocently enough with a routine visit to the doctor to address their ailing health after a recent infection had taken its toll. However, what should have been a simple consultation turned into a whirlwind of accusations and disbelief. The doctor, seemingly oblivious to their medical history, prescribed antibiotics without a second thought, unaware of the havoc it would wreak on their fragile bodies. As the days turned into weeks, their health continued to deteriorate, despite their efforts to nourish themselves and seek medical help. The children missed school as they battled bouts of sickness and stomach pains, whilst their mother tirelessly sought answers from countless doctors, only to be met with confusion and frustration. In a desperate attempt to find relief, they turned to a new doctor, hoping for a fresh perspective. Yet, instead of solace, they were met with accusations of emotional abuse, and in a cruel twist of fate, that left them reeling. With the support of her mother by her side, the mother pleaded her case, explaining the dire situation they found themselves in. But the words fell on deaf ears, drowned out by the chorus of unfounded accusations. Misinformation surrounded them. And then, as if their ordeal couldn't get any worse, the police arrived at their doorstep, summoned by a malicious lie that twisted their plight into something unrecognizable. With hearts heavy and spirits broken, they struggled to make sense of the chaos that engulfed them, clinging to each other in the face of uncertainty. But through it all, they remained steadfast and weathered the storm together, no matter the obstacle that lay ahead. For in the end, they knew that their bond as a family was unbreakable, and that together they could overcome even the darkest of days. In this case, we get to hear that life has been torn asunder, and not a single person in a position of power has said, "No, that's not right." OP had their children removed, because that always fixes things. Family is not all they had, but family was heavily relied upon, and the aftermath now sees OP having a lot less family simply because of allegations. In the UK, starting in 2015, ongoing. Once a bustling home filled with laughter and love, it became a battleground of despair and heartache. A mother grappling with her own health challenges and the loss of her stillborn son found herself at the mercy of a system that seemed determined to tear her family apart. It began innocently enough, with concerns raised about her son's behavior and her ability to cope. Despite her pleas for help and her unwavering dedication to her children, she was met with skepticism and accusations of neglect. As her world crumbled around her, she fought tirelessly to prove her worth as a mother. She attended countless meetings, endured probing assessments, and faced relentless scrutiny from social workers who seemed determined to find fault at every turn. But no matter how hard she fought, the system remained deaf to her pleas for justice. Lies and falsehoods were spun to paint her as unfit. While her children languished in foster care, their hearts aching for the warmth and love of their mother's embrace. Even as she faced restrictions on her contact with her own children, and endured the pain of being kept away from them, she refused to give up hope. With every fiber of her being, she clung to the belief that one day the truth would prevail, and her family would be reunited once more. For now, she continues to fight, her spirit unbroken despite the injustice heaped upon her. And though the road ahead may be long and dusted with obstacles, she remains tenacious in her determination to reclaim what was taken from her. The right to love and care for her children, and the chance to build a brighter future for them all. Unfortunately, as this is an ongoing situation, all we can do is speculate the outcome. Sure, everyone hopes the outcome is a happy one, but knowing the track record of social services, this is definitely unlikely to be a happy ending for all of those involved. A running theme for this channel, pretty much every single story I read, you'll not be surprised to hear that in absolutely all of these cases, social services did not try to help. All they did to help was help themselves to the children. These stories are from real people going through real issues, and the unfortunate thing is, after a family is ripped apart, the parents are left with less family and the pieces to pick up anyway. They can scream and moan all they like, but the only people that listen are those that have lived it. And those that have lived it can only say things like, "It gets better." The really sad part is nobody wants it to get better. They need it to be better. They need their children to be better. So that's everything from me, for now. But be assured this will not be the last story of a mother or father feeling and being ripped apart. See the description for a way to send me your story.